Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Sarah, and we're gonna wait about a minute to let while everybody's coming in. So hang in tight, and we'll start soon.
Sounds good. I think people even who were in person working, they're still kind of running from either meeting to meeting or Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting. So we got to give them a second.
Yeah, we have 13 participants already. All right, in the interest of time, I'm gonna start. As I see the numbers are stabilizing. So hello, everyone. We're excited that you are all entering in for this afternoon's event. Before we begin, we would love to know who all is joining us. So to do that, first locate the chat button you should see at the bottom of your screen, and then change who sees your chat to everyone, because the default is not everyone. So to make sure that everyone can see what you're writing. If you're a VCU graduate, please share with us your graduation year and which program you graduated from. And if you are a current student, you can still do the same. Just let us know when you're graduating and from what program. So let's go ahead and get started as people introduce themselves in the chat. Welcome everyone to Adulting 101 Job Search Hacks, how to land a job you love. My name is Sarah Isabel, and I am a 2020 graduate from the College of Humanities and Sciences. And I'm a current member of the Recent Graduate Council. The Recent Graduate Council is excited to partner with the Office of Alumni Relations to bring you this series. Before we get started, a few things to cover. We will be recording this afternoon's event, so don't worry if you missed anything. We'll send out to everyone the link with the recording for everyone who has registered. There's also live closed captioning available. So to access that, you go to the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen. And then once you click, you select to show subtitles in the menu. If you are having any issues accessing this feature, please message VCU Alumni Chatbot for assistance. In this webinar, certified career coach and national career expert Kelly Crawford will teach us how to tap into what's most fulfilling for you and begin to design your career around that. Learn how to leverage ideal career model to determine your career direction, and to get specific advice on brainstorming career choices using online and other search tools. I would like to thank those that were able to submit questions for our presenter while registering. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. Feel free to submit more questions today in the Q&A pane and the control panel that you should see at the bottom of your screen as well. Without further ado, I would like now to introduce you all to our presenter. Kelly has been a certified career coach, speaker, author, and national career expert since 2002. Her company, Create Your Career Path, is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. She's regularly featured in the media like Forbes, CNN, Money Magazine, and WSJ, and has undergraduate and graduate degrees from Vanderbilt University and the University of Illinois. With over 2,000 success stories, her team of coaches and resume writers helps professionals find jobs that make them want to jump out of bed in the morning to go to work, which is something we all want, to be excited about our job. So you take it over, Kelly. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I really appreciate the introduction. And I have to say that even though that technically that we help people find jobs that make them want to jump out of bed in the morning, technically that's my elevator speech. it always still kind of cracks me up in a good way. That's how your elevator speech should be. It should feel really authentic to you. So I'm thrilled to be here with you all today. Greatly appreciate your time. And I have to say too, I love the name of this whole series, Adulting 101, because I feel like we could all use that honestly at any age. I'm 50 and sometimes I don't fully feel like an adult. So whatever age you are today, welcome. And this advice we're going to give you all will be relevant regardless of your situation, your age, and professional, like wherever you are in terms of your career path. And we're going to be talking about several things today, and including like getting clear on your career path and what is going to be the right job for you. But we'll also talk with you as well about some job search hacks and some things that we want you to do in order to go, land a job that you truly enjoy, because that's what we're all about and what we want for all of our clients and people we work with. So as was already said, I'm a certified career coach, speaker, and author. Our company is based in Atlanta, Georgia. And we have coaches and resume writers all over the country. And the advice that we're going to give you today is advice that we give to all of our clients. Again, kind of regardless of their situation, professionally, et cetera, to help them make sure that they are headed down the right career path, finding a job that truly fits them, and also like how to do that, how to go make it happen in terms of job search, branding yourself, et cetera. So the advice we're giving you today is advice that we give to all of our clients on a regular basis. And if we take a look at this next slide, as we all know and have fully experienced over the past several years, COVID has changed the way we work in so many ways. It's not just about, we're working remotely, hybrid model, all of that. But what we heard a lot of different things actually from our clients, that their job satisfaction, took a hit. We had clients, some would tell us, I can't wait to go back to the office because my morale and my motivation is really low, all the way to the complete opposite, where people were saying, how can I tell my boss I never really want to see her again in person? So I think as a result of COVID too, our priorities changed, and what was important to us and how we felt about our jobs, and kind of taking a greater, stronger stand for having something that we truly enjoyed. I think that was kind of one of the silver linings. And in some cases for people, they changed jobs too quickly because they were trying to, make a move to do something different. And the great resignation kind of resulted from that. And what we assert and have always asserted in the past 25 years that I've been coaching, that it's really important to always find ways to remain and stay engaged at work and find a job that you truly enjoy, and be proactive about doing that in terms of strategic career planning. So the next thing part of the reason why we're here today too, is that job searching in and of itself can be really overwhelming. And so our goal is for you to not be like the woman on this screen. We totally understand that job searching is nobody's favorite thing. We were joking about this before we hopped on today. I don't think in the 25 years I've been coaching, I don't think I've had anyone say like, I love job searching. This is so exciting, right? And these days, in good and also overwhelming ways, there's a lot of new technology out there. There's information overload on the internet. Like people will tell us, I hear conflicting information about how to update my resume and all this other stuff. And then there's so many different steps to take. And some people aren't always sure about, how to use their time really wisely in their search. So we want to try to address all of these things in broad strokes as much as we can today. And one of the first things that I wanted to kind of concepts or ideas that I wanted to introduce to you, and then I'll show you our agenda in the next couple of slides here, is that when you're thinking about having a job that you love or that really fits for you, we also want you to be realistic about things and have the right perspective. And what we tell our clients is that the right perspective is not to expect perfection from your job, because honestly, you're not going to get it. There are always going to be things that you don't enjoy as much about what you do. Difficult days, maybe a coworker or a client that you don't enjoy working with as much. It's not perfection, but what we tell people to go for, because we know this is absolutely possible, is that the good parts and positive things about what you do so far outweigh those things that you don't quite like as much that you barely notice those things. And that's how I feel about working as a career coach and a business owner. There are definitely days that, sure, I would rather stay in bed and be independently wealthy or, win the lotto or whatever it is, right? But I actually love what I do and enjoy it enormously. And I'm focused so much or able to leverage my strengths so well. It's my work environment and, running a business, et cetera, is so great for my personality type and all of these other elements that we're going to show you in our career model in just a moment, that those difficult things or things that I don't like quite as much, I can deal with those in spades, no big deal. So have the right perspective. Don't go out there saying, I have to find like a needle in a haystack, like the perfect job. And if I do that, then everything will be fine. Know that there will be places that you may have to compromise or little areas you have to compromise a little bit. But when you're choosing also where you're compromising in terms of your career path, you will feel so much better because you're at choice versus just getting sucked into something and not going into it with your eyes open too. Okay. So really important piece of things. The other thing that we wanted to share really quickly first too is like why this is so important to work on and think about, the right type of job for you. Hold on, let me get rid of that bottom thing. Sorry, guys. Every time I do that, it presses the wrong button. So just patience with me with technology. I'm pretty good with it, but every few years, I would say about every 3 to 5 years, give or take, there's usually from either the Gallup organization or the Conference Board. There are different polls that they'll do or surveys to survey people's satisfaction at work. And one of the more recent ones, and kind of understandably due to COVID and all of that, 70% of people out there are not totally satisfied at their jobs. And so it's really important to think before you conduct a job search about what is going to be the right position for you and kind of career path. And one of the first things that we want you to think about, and then we'll actually, let's go ahead and launch our first poll here, would be great if we could do that, because we're curious where people fall today on the scale of being, satisfied with their jobs, is to make a list for yourself. One of the first exercises that we have our clients do that we find is so incredibly helpful, and it's really simple, is to create a list of things that you like about what you do and things that you don't like about what you do right now. And it's okay if a lot of the things, if there's a lot more dislikes than likes, because that's part of why you're here. We totally get that. And separate those out a little bit and create a list of those likes and dislikes so that you are getting clear and kind of seeing in front of you in black and white, like what's working and what's not working. And what's interesting about this exercise is, number one, not just that you see how many things you have in each column, but you can start to identify the themes and what you're writing about. And if you notice, for example, a lot of the things that maybe I haven't liked about my previous jobs or, school environment or whatever it is, relate to the environment about what I was doing versus the tasks or projects I was working on, that tells you something. That tells you that you're just in the wrong environment and you could do the same thing, but somewhere else. And then the second thing that this exercise will help you do as a first step is it will help you clarify for yourself what is permanent, like it's just not working for you and it's going to be that way forever. So you really do need to make a change, versus what is short term, that you're just working on a project or working with a client or customer that you don't like as much. And it's really helpful to identify those things and understand so that you can then understand like how dramatic of a change you may need to make. So it looks like, which I'm actually glad about, because it is harder when you're really unsatisfied and about to quit cold turkey. It looks like from our poll, we've got 63% that are saying they're slightly unsatisfied. And that's good. That means that you've got a little bit of bandwidth and maybe a little bit of time to kind of sort through this and conduct a job search if that's the right thing for you. 25% are unsatisfied and 13% cold turkey, about to quit cold turkey. So please don't panic if that's you, if you're in one of the in that category there. What we would suggest for the people who are more unsatisfied is to really take a hard and close look at our ideal career model, which we'll show you in just a moment, and dive into that so that you can get a sense of, okay, do I need to make a dramatic career change in order to be satisfied? Or can I make a course correction? And one of the things that we wanted to tell you is that 9 times out of 10, our clients can make a course correction in order to be satisfied. Usually when people come to us, they're pretty unhappy. And so they feel like they need to do something completely different. And the good news is a lot of times you can make some slight adjustments to your career path in order to make it work for you. So there's 3 things we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about our ideal career model, which I've already been referencing. We'll talk about branding yourself effectively and how you need to do that for your job search and to brainstorm different career ideas. And we'll also talk about putting yourself out there as it relates to the job search hacks that we wanted to make sure we focus on. Reminder that everyone will get a copy of the recording from today, the audio and video recording. But if anyone would like a copy of our slides, I do have this email address at the bottom of all of our slides. Please feel free to email us and we would be happy to share those with you. And just as a quick reminder too, as we go, we will have time for Q&A at the end of our session today too. But make a note of this email address, because if you think of questions later on that you want to ask me, I'm happy to answer. And if for any reason we don't get to your specific question today during our time, you can always just email it to me and I'd be happy to answer. All right, so let's dive in. So we've talked about this ideal career model thing a bunch. So what is this about? So when I started coaching 25 years ago, I realized pretty quickly that I needed to have some kind of structure and something for people to kind of latch on to in order to help them define the right career path for them. And so I developed this model, and it's as straightforward as I think it can be, showing you the different or 8 different components to an ideal career or the right fit for you. And we'll walk through this for just a moment because I want to walk you through the different pieces so that you understand what they mean, and then how we suggest using the model kind of step by step here. So we'll be on this slide for a little extra time. So when you're thinking about your career ideas and thinking about even your satisfaction where you are in your current job, you can actually use this model as like a checklist to identify, okay, what's working at your current job and what's not working based on each of these components. And that can start to tell you what needs to be different in your next job. So we always have people start with fulfillment here at the bottom right. And we do that because it's usually the hardest thing for people to define, but it's also, we feel in so many ways, like the most important thing to consider. Not because compensation is not important. How much we get paid is absolutely critically important. We have to pay our bills. But what we find is if people brainstorm ideas and alternative career paths based on fulfillment first, they're actually going to get closer to something that really would be rewarding and work for them versus just saying, okay, let me brainstorm ideas based on my strengths and how much I would get paid, and that's it. If you don't, for example, consider your personality type and your career path choice or the work environment, you're going to end up in the wrong fit. So we like for people to start with fulfillment first, because you'll brainstorm and get a lot of career ideas that you can then narrow down based on practical considerations as you go, like work environment, compensation, etc. And when we talk about fulfillment, what we mean is like, what are your values, your personal values and your career values, and how can your job or career path honor those and align with them? Basically, fulfillment is like what motivates you, what gives you satisfaction or a sense of accomplishment in your job. What do you want to help people or businesses with? That's how you can start to get to the heart of what fulfillment is for you. An example for me, authenticity is one of my top personal and career values. And a large part of why I started my coaching practice is basically to help people be more authentic in their lives and in their career, which is why we talk about what we talk about with our clients all day, every day. The next piece of the model, you go to the left, is the enjoyment piece, where this is where you're thinking about and making a list of what are my most enjoyable tasks, the tasks that I could perform all day, every day, and what are the other tasks that I like, but I don't want to be doing all day, every day. And this is actually an important kind of distinction, because if you only think about the strengths that you have, if you look at the next piece, but also things that you enjoy, you could end up on the wrong career path. And I'll use me as an example. I think it's the easiest way to illustrate it. So I am and enjoy, I'm good enough kind of to be dangerous at marketing and communications and writing and editing. But guess what? Before I started my coaching practice, I had a marketing and communications job and I hated it because what I realized is that I like the marketing and communications and writing just enough, but I don't want that to be the thing I do all day, every day. I realized that like coaching people, working with people, like counseling, I always kind of had that idea in the background for me, was something that I could do all the time. And it would be nice if I was able to do some marketing and communications, which I do in my coaching practice and in my business. But that was not the main thing I wanted to do all the time. So ask yourself that question when you're listing out your tasks, prioritize them based on what could I do all day, every day, and it still wouldn't take the fun out of it or enjoyment out of it. Really important distinction. Then if you move to the left again, we want you to take a look at your strengths. This is important, not just for you need to be good at your job and, get hired for it, obviously. But if you are not leveraging your strengths on a regular basis, you're not going to be fulfilled. So fulfillment, the other reason why this blue piece is so important is because it also influences and impacts or interplays with all of the other pieces too. So with your strengths, it's a good idea to identify, for example, your top 5 strengths. And we really like for our clients, the Strengths Finder assessment. There's lots of little tools you can find online, like on onetcenter.org. There are some strengths assessments that are free, lots of different resources there. But identify and get clear about what your top 5 strengths are so that you can then say to yourself, okay, do I have any other career ideas that I can come up with based on my strengths? And it also will help you narrow down the ideas you already have for practical considerations too. Then we want you to take a look at education and experience. How do you want to leverage your previous or current education? And does, do some of the classes that you've taken in the past, do those give you some career ideas because you really enjoyed them? Think about your past experience and how you want to leverage that. If there's some experience you're okay to let go of or experience that you'd like to leverage. And then we want you to think about your personality type for 2 reasons. It interplays a lot with the work environment, but it's also impacts the type of role that you should be in within an organization. So for example, personality type, you want to think about if you're more introverted or extroverted, if you're more of a big picture person or detail-oriented person. That impacts the type of role that you should be in within an organization and also the right work environment for you. Are you better off working remotely or in person or a little bit of hybrid? What's the right kind of culture for you? Is it more formal or more laid back? Work environment is a make or break for your career path and having it be the right thing. I can't tell you how many times we've had clients come to us and they think they need to go be a chef or something completely different from what they've done in the past. And what they realize is that it's really more about the work environment and their personality type. So the good news for them is that they are able to make a little bit more of a course correction. And then finally, last but not least at all, is compensation. And if you take a look at the model, like we said earlier, you're brainstorming ideas in this section here. You may brainstorm some ideas here too, but as you're working through the model as we described, that's what helps you start to narrow down your ideas based on those practical considerations. But at least you've started with a really large kind of net and bucket that will help you feel like you've covered your bases really well versus there could be something else out there that I just don't know about. And what if I haven't found it yet? And this is why we want you to do your career brainstorming in this way, okay? Because it will help you make sure that you feel comfortable and have no regrets, all right? So make sure that you're considering each piece of the model. And while we're at it here, and I wanted to just piggyback on what we just talked about, I'd love to do our second poll if we could. I'm really curious because I've actually found these days in a good way that more people, I think, because of COVID and evaluating what their priorities are, they do seem like they have a clear sense of what their values are than they did before. Because I think, people have just thought about that more than they did in the past. So I'd love to hear how many people feel like they do. And remember, with your values, excuse me, and when you're thinking about trying to define those, they do go in the fulfillment bucket, but some of your values could actually be some of your strengths, and some of your personality traits could be some of your values too. So just by the way, kind of your values, I think, can be present or evident in almost any piece of the model, just FYI. So we'll give you a chance. Okay, awesome. See, look, this is so fantastic. So silver lining of having to think about career paths more. 64% are saying yes, they do, which is wonderful. And 36% are saying no, they don't. We can help you with these values if you feel like you need help as part of our coaching services. This is one of the big things that we help our clients with, to help them sort through not just what their values are, but how that can translate into different types of jobs. So let's shift gears a little bit into thinking about your job search and how you can start to identify and understand what your brand is and gear it towards a job that you would love and enjoy. And remember, we've got time for Q&A at the end too. So anything specific that we need to talk a little bit more about, we'll spend time on that then too. So when you're thinking about or ready to start working on your job search, these are some of the basic kind of foundational materials that you want to have in place and ready to go before you work on your search. Obviously, your resume, your LinkedIn. We do want people to have a cover letter. Some people will ask us these days, do I really need to have one? Do people read it? If an employer asks for a cover letter or says they are giving you the opportunity to provide one, they are going to read it. So I would have one ready, because some will. And if nothing else, when you're developing your cover letter and your elevator speech, that's content that you can use when you're networking with people during the course of an interview. Like, it's about content generation at the very beginning here. So you do want to write a cover letter, because if nothing else, you can use elements of it to get in front of someone on LinkedIn, et cetera. And one of the things we want you to remind you of, going back to our model just really quickly, is that remember that as part of your brand, and when you're thinking about, what you bring to the table and your unique set of experiences, you also want to think about your personality type too, and how that influences your brand. So your brand absolutely is, yes, about your strengths, your education, and your experience. But we also want you to add in there, because these are more important these days and employers are paying attention to them more, what those soft skills are. Strong work ethic. Do you have natural leadership skills? Are you just a really good communicator in difficult situations? Change management, those types of things are things that employers can't necessarily teach us. So they want to hire people that already have those soft skills and all of the other qualifications that they're wanting, because that person is going to be better able to hit the ground running. So just don't forget those. And as part of your branding, I think this is just so much more important today too. And this is a little bit of a side note, and we're going to go back and talk about our resume and LinkedIn, et cetera. But because people we're on social media so much more, I'll admit, I am on Instagram and TikTok a little bit, but I'm 50. So my son makes fun of me. I use Facebook more still. Apparently that's more for old people, but there it is. Employers will Google you. Usually the first thing that they will find, if they do that, or when they do that, they're going to find your LinkedIn profile first. But they will look at other things as they get closer to maybe making you an offer. So you just really want to make sure that, and just take things down or make it private or whatever, will work for you. Okay. Or, make it as easy as possible. Okay. Hopefully my internet is doing okay. Sorry about that, guys. So as part of your branding, you want to obviously revise your resume and your LinkedIn and update it for your search, for your new direction or course correction or whatever it is, as we've been discussing. So part of this branding thing and revising your resume and LinkedIn, your resume and LinkedIn should not just be about like selling yourself. Obviously, that's critically important and a big piece of it. But talking about branding, I would example because I'm a really career coach or project manager, unique combination of skills, strengths, but also your experience, even your upbringing, the environment you grew up in, your, background and other experiences that you've had that aren't even career related, how that plays into your brand and kind of rounds you out as a really good candidate. Okay. So that's how I want you to be thinking. And is that kind of big picture thing. And let's look at this slide here for a moment. You want to make sure you're checking the formatting, that everything's consistent, there's enough size and it's not too dense and hard to read. Make sure that on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile and in your cover letter as well, but more so on your resume and LinkedIn, that you're including keywords that are going to be important to the applicant tracking system scanner. Scan.co is one of the resources we recommend that can help you make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile match up with the types of jobs that you're applying to. It will scan those things and help you with your keywords. But that's a big deal these days because you want to get past the tracking system when you apply, and you also would employers and recruiters to reach out to you on LinkedIn based on the factors with that too. Make sure on your resume and your LinkedIn that you are mentioning marketable results each time. Is it getting any better? Am I cutting out or is it better?
It's a little bit. I was just going to ask you if you would mind repeating. I think we lost a few things that I didn't get to hear, if you don't mind.
With this current slide?
Yeah. If you need, if you need to turn your video off, if that seems to help, you're welcome to do that.
So with your brand, let me try that. Hold on. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Is that helping a little bit, Sarah?
Hi, yes, it is better. Thanks.
Good. Sorry, I forgot the video thing when you turned it off. In terms of branding yourself, and let me know, I've got on the chat here, if there's any issues, just let me know and I can call in if needed. But with branding yourself, you really want to think like big picture and how all of your combination of experiences, your strengths, even past experiences you've had, your personality type, how that makes you a really good candidate, like how you stand out from the crowd and are different from other people that might be applying to those jobs. And so when we're talking here about branding yourself, we're not just saying like, make sure that you include the right keywords and have marketable results, that you're really thinking about, okay, what would be kind of the thing that would push me over the edge, so to speak, in terms of getting this job. And if we look at this slide here, kind of line by line, couple of things that we want you to pay attention to related to your resume would be making sure the formatting is correct and you've got enough white space, making sure that you're including and search engine optimizing your resume and your LinkedIn profile. This is so that you'll get past those applicant tracking system scanners, and also so that people will find you on LinkedIn, prospective employers and recruiters. Make sure that on your resume and writing bullet points or creating content that explain marketable results. So don't just say you worked on this project and delivered it to so and so.
Hi, Haley.
Let
Haley.
the reader know like why this was a big
Sorry, it's cutting off again.
I'm gonna call in, hold on.
Thank
Let me
you.
see if I can do audio a different way. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
Leave computer
you.
audio, I'm gonna switch. Yeah, no problem at all. I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know why the internet is weird.
I'm not sure if you're saying something because I cannot hear you right this second. Thank you everyone for being so patient as we figure out the audio situation.
5, 6. Bear with.
We can hear that you are
Okay.
connecting.
Is
Okay.
it a little bit better?
Yeah, it sounds better. Thank you so much.
No problem. Sorry about the internet. I don't know what the deal is. Okay. So let me know and feel free to, hop on audio and say, hey, we need to, do something different if needed. Can you see my slides still?
Yeah, we can see the slides.
Okay, good. All right. So the
Thanks.
last thing I wanted to say, oh, no problem at all, that I wanted to say from this slide that is really helpful is that jobscan.co is a great resource that will help you with reviewing your resume and LinkedIn profile and help you make sure that you're matching both up for the jobs that you're applying to. This is the cool thing about the internet and all of these technology tools is they can, help us really match things up. So check that out. And then the second thing we want you to think about as it relates to branding, which we've already, I've been talking about, is making sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile look up to date and quote unquote like contemporary. So resumes these days, they look a little fancier. You can use color and you can have like a branded banner at the top of your resume. And we want you to try to work on having like some keywords there at the top, as well as even like a tagline for what you bring to the table too can be incredibly helpful. And one of the other things from this current slide, and let me know if you can't see my slides for any reason, just let me know.
We can't see your
is
slides
we-
right now, Hallie.
You can't? Okay, why is it doing that? Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay. I'm going to pull it up again and hop back in a different way. But basically, so that you guys know, is we want you to use color on your resume because it can help it look a little bit more contemporary. Like using just one color is fine. Like blue or red, those are the two colors we really like. And that can help you kind of stand out from the crowd a little bit more. And then at the top, you can use you can have a branded banner where you use like blue at the top with your name and your contact information and all of that in there. And I'm reconnecting here, guys. Make sure that in your banner of your resume, as
Ellie, we can't hear you now. You went on mute. I can try to unmute you.
okay, I'm unmuted. Is that working?
Yeah, but we cannot see
Okay,
the
good.
slides. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on, let me fix that part. It's because I logged in again, and so it put me on mute even though I was on the phone. Okay, so here we go, and let me get this. And, okay, so this is like one example of a banner like that you could use, but you could also just use basic kind of like colored background. But do make sure that you've got your LinkedIn profile. That's something that we've noticed a lot of people are still kind of forgetting. You want to have your LinkedIn profile inside of the banner of your resume so that people know they're going to the right place. Okay, and let me know if you can't hear me or see my screen. It seems like we're good though.
We're good.
So a couple of things. Okay, good. Awesome. Thanks. A couple of things related to your LinkedIn profile is that remember in your About section with your LinkedIn, you can be a little bit more personal there, and we would encourage you to do so. You can kind of copy and paste your summary from your resume, but LinkedIn is a little more personal, so we would recommend that you've got like a first person statement there somewhere that just talks to them about like why you're passionate about what you do, et cetera. And there's a couple more things that I think most people know about, some basics on LinkedIn here. Make sure your photo looks good. You've got those measurable results in your experience section. It's a really good idea to work on getting recommendations so that you have those on your LinkedIn profile, because we like for clients to sometimes use excerpts of them on their resume and also in their experience section of their LinkedIn profile too. We talked about using keywords. Jobscan.co, I believe, will scan your LinkedIn profile as well so that you can figure out where you need to put the right keywords. And then make sure when we're talking here on this slide with the check the viewed by employers and recruiters, make sure you go through your profile settings on LinkedIn, because 9 times out of 10 with our clients, they haven't looked at their settings in a while because they haven't been in job search mode. And so it's really important to make sure that you have all the settings that you want in the right place there, making sure that everything that you want to be public is public, et cetera, et cetera. And LinkedIn changes things all the time. And so we have to kind of keep up with that stuff. And it's good to double check your settings before you get into job search mode. And when we're talking about branding, LinkedIn now gives you the opportunity to have a branded banner behind your headshot. This is an example of one that our resume writer did for one of our clients. And it's cool because it helps brand you. Like, this is not her job title here, but it kind of lets the reader know exactly who she is. And then she's got her little tagline here as well, which we like too. Now LinkedIn is giving you the chance to choose from banners that they offer, like as preset templates. You can start with that right now and then work on a branded banner for yourself kind of over time to just help you stand out from the crowd a little bit more. And obviously this is something that we do for our clients, and we really like it because it can help you kind of stand out. As part of branding, we referenced a couple of slides ago, like developing your elevator pitch. And I at least wanted to, talk about this for a moment. We're not going to do this poll here today because we've got a different one we want to do. But an elevator pitch is actually still something important for you to have ready to go so that you're prepared for interviews, you're prepared for networking, that type of thing. And this, basically, it should be really short and sweet and spotlight the uniqueness that you provide and the results and benefits that you provide, okay? And a couple of ways to get started with this, and then we're actually going to give you some examples of an elevator pitch on the next slide here, is to think about, okay, what are the deliverables that I can provide to a prospective employer and their clients? It's a really good idea to make sure that you know who your target audience is, you write down your results and deliverables, choose an opening sentence that kind of grabs their attention as much as possible, and then obviously you want to practice it. So let me show you a couple of examples here that we like. Short and sweet, and remember, when you're talking with someone, either at a networking event or in person, or on a webinar, or, talking with them in an informational interview, you're going to be able to tell them more about who you are. It doesn't have to just be this one little piece. But this example, we'll use this one at the bottom here for just a second. This person is an environmental engineer and consultant, and this elevator speech just gives a really good, kind of introduction to who he is, and then what he might say to a networking connection, because he's in job search mode, is he might say, I'm looking for an organization that is like mid-size, works with this type of clientele, et cetera, et cetera. The more when you're talking with people networking wise, that you can explain to them, like, not just who you are, but what you're looking for, the better able they are going to be able to do to help you. They'll be able to help you a lot more, okay? And when we're talking about networking, we want you to brainstorm like different career ideas with your network. But this is also where, with networking, you can start to like get your foot in the door with possible organizations and maybe get some ideas on your job search. So the statistics are still accurate that between 60 and 70% of jobs that are secured or found out there are still secured through networking. Is LinkedIn changing this? I would say yes, it is to a certain extent, but more so that yes, employers can, and recruiters can kind of find you and handpick candidates, but that's still not necessarily the norm. Still, networking is really the best way to get a job. And we want you to think about these different possible areas or ways that you can network with people through LinkedIn, maybe through Facebook, or in some cases through social media. Meetup.com is another really good networking site. It works a little bit more if you work in a larger metropolitan area, but it's still something to check out for your local area just in case. This is where we want you to leverage your alumni association. And I was not paid to say this because we tell this to all of our clients, honestly. You also want to look at industry-specific associations too, and social groups. So for our last poll today, we'd like to launch that. And we're really curious, like, how many people have brainstormed ideas about career paths with different people in their network? And, who have you brainstormed with? And, I'd be curious if you share in the chat, et cetera, like who was most helpful for you. But we had a client once, and I just want to use this as an example as we're doing this poll, who he actually had some friends over, gave them pizza or dinner or something. And they helped him brainstorm different career choices based on what they knew about him. And it was just so incredibly helpful because it helped him kind of open his eyes to what else was out there, get different ideas from people. And then he was able to narrow those ideas down based on practical considerations. But just having other people, whether it's a networking connection, a mentor, a friend, family member, people who know you really well can brainstorm ideas with you, and they can also give you some job search advice too, and help you think about, okay, how can I brand myself effectively? What do you see are my greatest strengths and what my brand might be personality trait-wise, et cetera, et cetera. So let's see what these are. And it makes sense to me that friends and family are kind of the highest ones on here. So thank you everyone for participating in that. We would invite you to think about brainstorming ideas too with networking connections. Because here's one of the things I wanted to say about this. And if it's okay, I'm going to close this. I don't know if it closes on everybody else's end. But when you start to, and we'll look at this next slide here too, but when you start to network with people like within, let's say, a certain industry, and are asking them maybe like, look, here's my skills and my strengths and some of my interests. Do you have any ideas about what some of the job titles are that I should be targeting based on that? People that are in that industry are the best people to find out more about those specific things, because they could tell you like directly, these are, this is the job title that I think of when you're talking about what you're talking about. So this networking thing, even outside of friends and family members, can also be incredibly helpful. And we would suggest checking out also like your at least one or two LinkedIn groups. They could be industry specific. They could be, like job title specific. But if you check those out and start to participate a little bit more regularly, this will help you connect with new people and have like a set goal of like, I want to connect with a new person, 2 or 3 new people every month or whatever it is. It can help you expand your network, but you could actually get ideas about your job search, et cetera, and career ideas from networking within industry-specific groups on LinkedIn as well. So definitely check those out. If we don't get to your question today, as we start to move to Q&A, and if anyone would like a quick free consult to learn about our coaching services, you would just use the same email address that we've been putting on the slide already. So it's the same one listed there. And we would highly encourage you to do some networking, put yourself out there a little bit more, and do some informational interviews. These are one-on-one conversations with someone who works in an industry that you might be interested in a role, or at an organization that you might be interested in getting your foot in the door, or at least learning a little bit more about it to find out if it's a good fit for you. And people know what these are. Like informational interviews, they're a common tool that job seekers use. And if you can find warm leads through friends, family members, alumni association, those people will be more likely to get back with you and respond to you in order to, get some information from them and ask them specific questions. When you're conducting informational interviews, just a quick reminder to be really specific about what you want to ask them and what questions you have. Be really professional with them and make sure that you follow up each time with each person that you've spoken to as well. Send them a thank you note, a thank you email, let them know on LinkedIn that you appreciate their time, and make sure you connect with them on LinkedIn as well. And finally, as you're starting to get into job search mode, we want you to make sure that you're paying attention to these things on the slide as well, that you're setting a schedule for yourself about when you're going to work on your job search during the course of your week, that you make sure you stay organized, that you set up job alerts online, that you've got like an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of where you've applied, who you've spoken to in terms of your networking connections, et cetera. And make sure that you update your voicemail so that when people contact you, they know it's you and it's your voice and not the robot voice. And then it's a really good idea too to create a job search specific email address with a signature line that again sells you, brands you, has your LinkedIn profile in there too. Okay. Okay, so I know we talked about a lot, so I'm going to stop so that we can do some questions. But one of the things that I would like you all to do, please, is to write down at least 1 or 2 action steps that you will take from what we talked about today that you will take in the next week to help hold yourself accountable to making things happen. We've got some example ideas here. If you're in the boat of, I don't know what my career path is and I need some help brainstorming, you would want to start with reviewing the ideal career model to start brainstorming some ideas and see what else is out there. If you are more clear about what your career path is and what you think you might want, you may want to conduct some informational interviews and start to narrow down those ideas that way. All right, so let me pull up because I closed it out from before. And I want to make sure that I've got the Q&A and the chat box pulled up. All right, and I appreciate your patience, everyone. If you feel like you missed anything from today, again, you can email me to get the slides, but also if you've got specific questions about something that we spoke about today, feel free to email me as well. I'd be happy to answer. And I'm
Allie,
glad we worked it out.
thank you. You have shared so many great tips with us today. I'm not applying for a job, but I'm like wrote a lot of them down for when that's happening. And
Okay, good.
so we're gonna try to work through some questions that have been submitted before, as we were waiting for people to put their questions here. So first, how long should someone spend on career brainstorming?
Yeah, great question. And people ask us this a lot. And what I would say is give yourself, and I don't want to be, like freak people out at all, but I want you to give yourself like a good few weeks of brainstorming. And I say this because I don't want people to sit down at their computer and think, okay, if I brainstorm options for like 2 hours, I'm going to come up with it. And that's it. Like, it's something that, it's a good idea to like spend maybe an hour doing some research online, like Googling, for example, based on keywords that you're interested in. Like, I'm interested in event planning or project management. And you might say careers in event planning or project management or data analysis or something like that. Come up with a good list of keywords that will help you brainstorm ideas and Google some of those to kind of see what else is out there. And you can also plug those keywords into job boards. So give yourself, like, I would say 2 or 3 weeks of good brainstorming, and then maybe another week or so after that of like, talking with people and doing some informational interviews, et cetera. Just take the time to do it right because you want to get into the right next job versus just jumping from the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Give yourself enough time, right, to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how can I update on LinkedIn if I don't want my current employer to know that I'm job searching?
Yes, this is something that obviously LinkedIn knows is an issue for people, right? So I've seen things that they've done to make changes and make this a little bit better, easier, private for people. You can, when you click or if you select, I would like to be viewed by employers and recruiters, please know that as a setting on LinkedIn, that's not going to suddenly notify your employer. And the likelihood of them finding you and knowing that you've clicked on that is really very low. So that's one way to search privately. and not have like on your profile itself saying open to work. They have kind of different options there on LinkedIn where it can be private or it can be public. So that's going to be up to you. And then if you are concerned about your employer maybe going back to your LinkedIn profile and therefore noticing that you suddenly updated the whole thing, you can update it kind of slowly piece by piece. And you could, if someone asked you about it, you could say, I'm updating it for branding purposes, because I know that it's something that's important to do these days, something like that. So LinkedIn's aware of it. They're trying to make it a little bit better and easier.
Oh, these are good tips. So what are your thoughts on using sites and resources that use AI, such as ChatGPT, to help in your job search journey?
I think that can be fantastic. Remember that they're not perfect. Just like anything else, you might get some stuff that isn't relevant or not related to what you're thinking about or interested in or whatever else it is, but it can be incredibly helpful. So I would definitely use those tools. Just don't solely rely on those. Use other tools as well, like some manual searching on your own to make sure that you're covering your bases.
Okay. And what would you say to people who are like in mid-career, some mid-career recommendations, or people who are pivoting industries and like midlife?
Yep. Use the same tools that we've talked about today, and keep in mind that when you're mid-career and therefore you have more experience, let's say in one industry, you just want to be mindful of your search may take a little bit longer because you might be, searching for something, or if you're searching for something a little bit different and new. And you've got to be really good about branding yourself in or towards this new direction. So it's only that like you may look a little bit more pigeonholed, quote unquote, but that does not mean that you can't make a shift or find something new. You just, it's a little more legwork, if you will.
Okay. And just final question. What about people who are just graduating? They don't have a lot of experiences and things to add to LinkedIn. How do you break into that first job post-bachelor's or post-master's degree?
Yep. Put down any experience you've had, even if it's, volunteer experience, courses, projects you've worked on in your classes. So put things in your experience section as much as you can, even if it's not exactly formal professional experience. Explain that you worked on this project, and what happened as a result, because there is stuff that you've done already. I promise.
Okay, so there is one question that I saw on the chat. I'm gonna read it real quick. Yeah, okay, so hopefully we can answer within like the next minute. If you can't, okay, cool.
No problem. I'm reading it. Introductions and now getting back on track. Okay, so I would describe the situation of the non-upward mobility like, number one, you could break out in your experience section a little bit. Like if there's a way to break out the different, job like projects or something that you've had under a specific job description, there could be ways that you could break that out on your resume and on LinkedIn a little bit. And in your about section or in your summary of your resume too, you might be able to put like a quick line in there about what has been happening in the past year or so. You want to keep it professional and make sure that you're not getting into the weeds too much and personal details too much, but you can explain those things a little bit in your LinkedIn about section. And there might be different ways that you can kind of rework a little bit your resume and LinkedIn so that it demonstrates and kind of shows what was going on so that you're explaining it. And you can also put that in your cover letter too. Okay, that was my short answer.
Okay, thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Helly, for your insight and knowledge. We will be posting some additional links and follow-ups from Helly's talk if you are interested. Everyone should see a link now or soon for a short survey to complete that we can get feedback and thoughts about how the event went and how we can better shape the future events. And if you aren't able to grab the link before we end today, we'll be sending out an email within 48 hours along with the recording. And so on behalf of the recent Grad Council and the Office of Alumni Relations, I want to thank everyone for being here, especially Hallie, for talking to us, sharing her expertise. And thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Bye-bye.